All right, so let's look at physical and material resources. This has got to do with your operations plan. So the right physical resources to survive. Every organization must have the appropriate physical resources to survive. This includes proper workspace, inventory, supplies, so on and so forth, working telephone line, computer systems for sure, adequate information systems, and effective marketing material. So all this is part of the resources that you need for your business plan and for your company and your resources. So it's very important to be realistic in assessing your needs before making any purchases for your company. So if you look at the operations phases in a company, a startup company, step one certainly is always a new startup. A step two would be the growth of your company. Step three would be the expansion of your company. This is the operations phases. And step four would be mature business. So most businesses, this is what they go through. You might think that some of them skip a step here or a phase, but they don't. It's just that they stay a shorter amount of time in a phase or not. But these are the four stages or the four phases that you need in a company, or you will meet, or you will have to go through in a company. Very similar to a product life cycle, very similar to that. So if you look at step 5, most of the times it would be bankruptcy or closure, but we're not going there. So if you look one by one, the startup phase, the business is born, just like your businesses are now born. Production has started, and yes, here at this phase, you're talking about something that's very challenging. So you need to be very focused when you start your company here, because this is very risky, no matter how well you are prepared. And I think through what we've been going through the last couple of months, or close to the last couple of months now, that no matter how well you are prepared, the unknown is always there to really bite you just when you think everything is going well, and next thing you know, you have no customers for reasons X, Y, or COVID, as we can say now. That's our new line. It's X, Y, or COVID. Now the next one you're going to go through is the growth phase. This is where all of a sudden now you are making money and you are profiting. So here the competition now is growing, just like a product life cycle. All of a sudden there is competition, and you might have to do a new business plan. Like I had mentioned, a business plan is not etched in stone, meaning that you do one and you forget about it. That's just not the way business works. You do one, and then from then you always revise it and update it. And so here you really have to look out more and more to innovate. To really stand out, you need to innovate the innovation. So whatever products you've got to update them. So no matter what you've seen in the last few years come through a pipeline, be it technology products or clothes or anything that's got to do with style, you see how innovative clothes are or innovative products are. And you will see even more so now, again, revolving around survival. And here you will order. No, you're not going to order. You are going to hire new employees. I've got ordering on the mind, and I'll tell you why in a minute. And then you've got step 3, which is expansion. This is now all of a sudden you're looking for new revenue streams, meaning you're looking for different ways of growing your business, looking for new markets. You're looking to add new products. You will look at revenue streams that you did not existed, now they do. And you might, and you certainly will now, in today's world, you need to expand. But then again, in our new normal, we might be having businesses where you will tend to be a little bit more local and more more national than in the past. And we get to the mature phase where profits are stable here. Your company is a bit mature. Competition really remains fierce, does not let go. Competition will never let go. Money is money. Everybody wants money any way they can get it. And so that's why competition is fierce, but it's also very healthy, as we talked about that, for your business. Sales can start to fall off at this stage, maturity, if you don't do what you have to do in the expansion phase. Mature phase could you could lose business. So at this stage, you really need to make a decision where you will expand your business or you will foreclosure, close it, or go bankrupt on your business. So you have to look at all of this before you can even declare bankruptcy. All right, so that's the operations, the 4 phases that you have to go through. And in business, you always have to procure products to run your business. No matter what it is, you have to buy, you have to purchase. And this is called procurement. And definition of procurement is the overhead function that describes the activities and processes to acquire goods and services. This involves the activities in establishing requirements, sourcing activities such as market research, vendor evaluation, and negotiation of contracts, right? It can also include the purchasing activities that are required in order to receive goods. So as I mentioned, here we need to establish requirements, sourcing activities, market research, vendor evaluation, and you also have to negotiate contracts. So how many steps are in a procurement process when you actually have to go through to actually buy some goods to run your company? Let's say you would need goods such as tangible goods as lumber or plastic or flour, let's say, or whatever it is that you're running your business, or steel. How do you go about it? Well, this is the process. There's 5 steps. First step, define your business needs. 2, develop procurement strategy. Then number 3, supplier evaluation and selection. And you know you're going to be tested this in the quiz. Number 4, negotiation and you award the contract. And number 5, induction and integration. So those words might not mean anything to you right now, but let's go through them one by one. So define the business need. This is where you have to understand your requirements. You have to understand the difference between a requirement and a solution. And this is to define a business need, right? As I said, you understand the fundamental. For example, the requirement is to source software to help get information published on the company intranet. Those are an example. Or an item of software to publish information on the company intranet is a solution, not a requirement. Okay, so that's how you would go through it. These are our needs. Then you would develop a procurement strategy, potential solutions and approaches. You identify what's important. You develop measurable targets. You implement and measure strategy. This is how you develop procurement strategy. So you have to identify what's important, develop certainly measurable targets, and implement and measure strategy. Let's keep going. So supplier selection and evaluation. This is one of the most important processes in a business because you need to pick a supplier. I know I worked in sales for a long time and I went through this phase or this step so many times on the other side. And let me tell you, it's very nerve-wracking and it really is something to go through this kind of phase or this step on the buying side or on the sales side, I should say. So here as a supplier or as a buyer, you need to recognize your need. You need to identify the key sourcing requirements. And then all of a sudden, well, you recognize your need, right? And I apologize. You recognize your need and identify key sourcing requirements. And you need to determine strategy. This is where you might look at yourself and say, do I need a single or multiple sources? Okay, and then you have to have a contract. Is your contract going to be a domestic contract or a foreign contract? So there is complacency, certainly, where you identify potential supply sources, and you need to have a good determination how you do that. What I mean by complacency is that sometimes we don't pay attention to new suppliers. We will just pay attention to suppliers that are existing. So we have to be very careful with that. All right, so let's continue. Yeah, so you have to determine the evaluation method also on how you're going to evaluate your suppliers. This is really an important stage or an important step. Again, phase, step, stage, all similar words, all words that mean the same thing. Then you have to negotiate and you have to award. So here in most cases it's not just about the price, it's got to do with benefits, it's got to do with the total cost of ownership. So total cost of ownership includes what you see there. Purchasing, repairs, maintenance, upgrades if there is, service, after sales service, support, security, and training. This is a total cost of ownership. So consider the process by which the goods will be ordered, and how they will be delivered, returned if necessary, how the invoice process will work, and on what payment terms will be. Right, so the induction integration step is the next one. So no goods should be ordered until the contract is signed. Any service levels that have been agreed need to be measurable all the time. This is really, really important. Everything that you have to do with your suppliers, you're going to have to be able to measure. So purchase, in other words, meaning that you measure if they're good or not, right? How good are they? How bad are they? What do you consider to be a good supplier, bad supplier, so on and so forth, right? You need to measure. Then you have to have purchasing requirements are determined. Will you order every day? Will you have a van of stock coming in once a month, once a week? And what exactly, how you are going to pay, and all of this has to be included in here in induction and integration of the supplier into your company. So then is purchasing. Now, procurement and purchasing sound a lot alike. They are. But procurement is what you just saw or heard now. All the steps of actually going out and getting suppliers to supply you is procurement. So purchasing, what is that? Well, purchasing is the daily routine of buying the product. So this is a big part of the procurement process. It refers to the process of ordering and receiving goods, right? So involves request approval, creation of a purchase order, and the receiving of goods. So guess what you have to do for your business plan to show your investor is you actually have to fill in a purchase order. I will attach a template that you could use for a purchase order. You don't have to use that one. There are many different types of purchase orders. But I need to know, what are you going to order? What's important to order for your business? Now, whatever that is, right? What do you need to order? Not necessarily the first thing you need to order, but what is one of the first things you need to order to run your business, be it for your office, be it for your production, be it for any department in your company. What are you going to order? So you will need to fill this in and also attach it to your business plan. Right, so a purchase order document indicates types, quantity of products, and services issued by the buyer. A whole bunch of information, what it includes, right, all the way down to suppliers use POs to fulfill their orders and payment processing. Online invoicing now makes it a lot easier, but there's still a lot of templates that are used and also pre-designed for each company. So if you'd like to add a logo, your company logo on your PO, right, up there on the left, you certainly can make it your own. Okay. On the other side, you've got the invoice. I'm not going to ask you to do an invoice, right? You're just going to do a PO. An invoice, though, is a document issued by a seller to a buyer indicating items sold, prices, date of shipment, delivery, and payment terms. So I'm not going to ask you to do that, but this is the difference or the importance of an invoice. It's a great way to track your earnings, business, and expenses, and certainly you will be audited. So if the government does come and audit you, your invoices have to be clear, and they have to be to the point, and they have to be exact. So certain key differences between the two, right? Purchase order is what the buyer prepares, while the invoice is what the seller makes instead of the payment to be received. So purchase order lists the quantity and the due date of delivery. An invoice has on it the price of the goods, products, or services being sold. So those are the two differences. Right, so we'll stop there. And like I said, you will need to address this by filling in a PO.